trying to fight and battle this virus with us staying home. Reminding you, senators, get ready to head into emergency session today, presumably to address bills that would give the governor more powers to lock us down. We're reminding you, we don't need to go to session. We have the power already, our God-given right to stay home. So just stay home.
And curfew ourselves.
Yeah, we can just we can curfew ourselves.
Curfew ourselves.
We're going to curfew ourselves. I mean, you should. I don't know. Take it seriously. Don't go out unless you absolutely have to. I like what Congressman Khalili Sablan said. Don't go out unless you're going to buy groceries or medicine or any other like life essential thing. Going over to check your party, it's not really that essential. 7:24. Let's go to the phones where the minority leader, Senator Telo Taitague, is on the line for a little catch up. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Kristen. And good morning, Sabrina.
Good morning.
So how was your Easter, first of all?
Very quiet. I was able to have a little fish kelaguen, which is traditional. And the best part was I had some mungo beans and my favorite eggplant and coconut milk. Oh yeah.
Man,
so
wow.
I had that in front of me while I was studying all the bills and looking over all the information that I received through the mail, especially for Bill 335 and 336.
So these are the governor's bills, right?
Yes, this is a well, I wouldn't say the governor's bills, but technically, yes, you're right, Sabrina. It was introduced by Amanda Shelton, and then the other one was by Tina Barnes.
So one of them is the curfew, and then one is the checkpoint.
One is a violation. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. So did that all day yesterday, and getting ready for session this morning.
Okay, I want to just back up before we get to session. I know you guys had shot out some letters trying to get the war claims reimbursement that's coming to Guam. Trying to use that money to pay out tax refunds. Can you just give us the info on that?
Well, we sent a letter to Assistant Secretary of Interior Doug Dominich, as well as Doug Holster, Deputy Assistant to President Trump. And we met these individuals while we were in Washington, D.C., and created a contact between each other. And basically, we're being proactive. We're trying to do our part. We know that the Trump administration is Republican, and we're trying to reach out to them via party and ask them to please expedite the work claims coming to us. We're hearing two different things. We hear that it might be coming in 2 weeks, and then someone said it might be coming in 3 weeks. So what we're doing is our part and reaching out to them to ask them to please expedite the funds to Guam, because God knows we need it.
Right. And so what tax refunds, because I asked the governor this last week, kind of got ran over on it, but tax refunds, from when are you trying to pay them?
Oh, the tax since 2018. Okay. Refunds from 2018, which is about over 4,000 returns that haven't been paid. The administration said they should be up to date by the end of this month, but that still leaves quite a bit of tax refunds that need to be paid from 2018 still. And as we go in, I believe there was like 640 plus tax returns for 2019 that were already filed that have no discrepancies on it. They're clean and ready to go. And we all know that this is an infusion in not only to help those individuals, out there to purchase the food they need or gas or whatever they need right now. It will help. And it's most importantly, Chris and Sabrina, this money belongs to them. It's their money. We made that clear in passing the budget bill. In the beginning of the budget bill, it says that it shall be priority for the governor to pay out tax refund funds. That shall be priority. And unfortunately, it hasn't been.
Senator, let me ask you, because I know there's tax refunds that were filed in January that are we just trying to clear the house? Do you support any kind of effort to pay out refunds earlier than the 6-month timeline implemented by the court?
Oh, absolutely. This is we know we need this money, so absolutely.
Okay.
But anyways, we'll see what happens, but we need to do our part, right, and be proactive and ask the federal government to please expedite that war claims refund right away. And I wish, we're going into session, and I don't know how we're going to be able to get the administration to come into session as well to discuss our financial situation, where this money is coming from. It behooves me to see that last week when we go in on Thursday, while we're in session, that the governor found $11 million, to pay out. That was very shocking, because we've been trying to tell her, hey, you have the money to pay out these tax returns right now. And so I'm curious, but I don't know if we're going to have an opportunity to have BBMR or DOA come into the session hall today.
And that's interesting, because I wanted to see, there was something that Senator Joe San Augustine had mentioned on the floor last week when they were discussing Senator Therese Talahi's bill regarding the governor's transfer authority, and she hadn't reached that threshold. And I believe he said right now she had spent $10 or $11 million. And I'm wondering, do you know what exactly is that threshold with her transfer authority that she can spend up to?
I believe it's 15% she has transfer authority. And if you look at how much money we passed in the budget bill of that 15%, you're looking at about $80 million worth of transfer authority.
Okay.
Now, in March 11th, I believe, when we went into session regarding the coronavirus fund, we had the opportunity to question DOA, Mr. Byrne, regarding this. And we asked him first the rainy day fund, how much was in the rainy day fund, how much money was in there. And, Senator Therese was trying to get this answer from him, but he really wasn't answering the question. So there was a lot of information on that March 11th session.
Oh, I see.
To prove that they're not giving us the information, in other words.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen this letter? I just pulled it up. It's on the legislature's website, dated April 2nd. The governor writing to the speaker regarding a notice of transfer funds in the amount of $7 million to address the mandatory quarantine protocol and the temporary hospital program. And so what it looks like is she's taking money from UOG, GCC, Public Health, the Commission on Decolonization, GPD, Corrections, Youth Affairs, Military Affairs, the Office of Technology, and again she's transferring into the Office of the Governor, Guam Homeland Security, for this temporary hospital program and mandatory quarantine. Have you seen that?
This is a letter from the governor. Is this separate and apart from the $4 million that she offered?
Yeah,
right. This is a new one.
Yeah. Yep. There's a requirement by law that the governor, within a certain amount of days, must provide the legislature where she's pulling this money out and transferring it out. So, yeah, she's definitely pulling from other agencies for the needs that she has right now.
Senator, has there been any conversation, and what do you anticipate the governor is going to say when she gets wind, if she hasn't already, of this effort for you guys to kind of like earmark the war claims reimbursement to pay out tax refunds?
I saw that bill that was introduced by the speaker. It's the same bill that I introduced, 322, regarding the tax refunds and using war reparation as well as excess revenue. My bill also included a stimulus package for Guam to actually provide funding, kind of like what they did for Bill 181 on the war reparations, when she fronted the money up front and then was reimbursed later. And the same thing, the bill that I provided would do the same. Now, if the governor is going to be using, and her intent was to use the war claims to pay out the stimulus, the CARES Act now, the $1,200 and $500 now, to the individuals, I guess the revenue of $10,000, I think it was.
This is for individuals with adjusted gross income under $10,000.
Under $10,000, then that's pretty much going to wipe it out. But then again, if she says she's going to do it within a week and a half, I hope that the war claims money gets here, because as you can see, both of you can see, she's pulling out from other agencies on transfer authorities to pay other bills. So this is a balancing act that's being performed here. And if you're not careful, you're going to look at a payless payday or any kind of money needing to fund other agencies, essential agencies, are not going to be there.
I think they're just kind of just waiting for that 130 million to come.
Yeah,
it's going to cover everything.
We all should start praying for that one, lighting a candle for that one.
Let's
start a novena.
Let's go to the session now. Can we just start with your take session last week and then what you anticipate today?
Well, I am going to make a comment that any bills that are on the agenda, this is called, well, let's back up. The speaker called an emergency session. So an emergency session meaning bills that are going on the floor that's a dire emergency. And some of these bills on the floor are not dire emergencies. Many of the issues have been addressed since it's been introduced. Some of these bills really need the public input, public hearings. And for anyone to try and sneak a bill through and it doesn't have an emergency attached to it that needs a public hearing, I'm definitely going to speak my mind about it because it should have one. So I'm going to make a comment that the bills going on the floor should only address the dire emergency that this session is called for. So look at some of the bills. Some of them don't need it. The only ones that I can see as a dire emergency is Department of Education. You know, the school hours that are up, allowing the students to graduate. You know, that I can see put on the floor, but I don't see anything else that's in a dire emergency that has not been covered by the executive order from the governor that's already been implemented.
What about the curfews and the checkpoints?
Well, if you look at it, what's happening right now, she's already putting the checkpoints. Okay, let's call it.
They're road closures, Senator. Don't say the C word on the radio, please.
Oh, absolutely.
Whatever you do not say the C word. They're monitoring. We could be looking at fines.
So these roadblocks that are happening, she's already implementing that.
Road closures. Road say it with me, Senator. Road closures.
I'm sorry. It's a Freudian slip. You know, I'm sorry. I call it what it is, and I see it the way it is, and that's what comes out of my mouth. But, so that being said, it's done. Now, if you look at some of the executive orders that have been passed through, and if you look at enforcement on some of these executive orders, it incorporates a fine. It incorporates taking away or not allowing business license to be renewed or revoked. And she has this in the if necessary may do with the assistance of the Guam Police Department. It talks about shall be subject to fines and or in case of businesses the termination of business license. So there, why are we needing to go in if these executive orders are not adhered to, which is a list of everything under the sky. I mean, you've got everything from price gouging to authorizing of overtime. You have school closures. You have 6 feet apart.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, Senator.
You have masks.
Right.
You have everything under the sky in this. You have people not going to essential places enforce. So these enforcements are already there.
I know. So that's why I'm wondering when these bills get on the floor and you guys start discussing it, is the majority of the conversation going to be why are we even entertaining this if the governor has? Because I felt like it was a power check. I felt like when the governor said, in my mind, looking at the whole thing, when the governor said don't use any of the local money for aid, and then Senator Regine Biscoe-Lee put in a bill that used the local money for aid, and then the governor came out with her, local money for aid, and then it was like, boom, I'm doing the road closures, sorry. And so I kind of feel like she's moving forward without you guys, and I'm just wondering, are the any senators, the Democratic majority leadership, with the exception of the vice, sometimes she goes either way, but are they going to now say, hey, why do we even need to do this? Let's move on to something else. What do you think?
Well,
what about the minority? Where do you guys stand?
Well, I know that the minority is not in agreement with the violation, the $5,000, and definitely criminalizing, being out there as a penalty. That I know for sure. I haven't really talked to them about the curfew at all, so I'm not sure. But those individuals who put their name on that legislation for the $5,000 with Speaker Barnes, that's people you need to ask how they feel about that.
Well, I feel like they think it's a win. When this bill came out, it was like, hey, look what we're trying to do. We're trying to fine you $5,000. Hey, all right.
And we all know they took it from the Hawaii, so
Right,
Right.
yeah.
it's something they thought of themselves, and it's clearly they didn't think this out either. You know?
Do you see
But
the-
I'm really happy. I'm really happy to see. I've had more emails, text messages, phone calls regarding that bill, and 100%, all of them ask that we do not support the bill. That's the first time I've gotten anything that's 100%. I mean, you usually get those on the other side. You say, please, we do like this bill, pass it, but not this time, not this particular bill. And if for some reason, like, being a super minority and not having, we only have 4 votes on our side, I'm going to push that if this bill does get through, then at least make an amendment to not criminalize it and not 5,000. Well, we all know there's a substituted version that goes from 100 to 250 to I think 1,000 with jail time. So if for some reason this bill does get on the floor and starts to get through, then I'll be making an amendment to make it not 1,000 but just 500 and not criminalize it.
Has anybody thought of, let's call in the Attorney General to explain why we need this, considering that the governor said, the AG said, so we have to get these bills
Yep, she put it on
passed.
the AG, so where's the
Has anybody
AG?
thought, well, let's call him in and explain why we need to do this?
Yeah.
Well,
I love to see that. I love to see him wiggling in that Zoom, like, okay, the reason why we need to do this and that. And just be
Well,
good.
I think what's happening is that, there was a case law that was brought up with curfew, and it was back in during Ricky Bradau. I think
Right,
it was Ricky
yeah.
Bradau's time.
Yeah.
We all know Gale versus government of Guam.
yeah,
and
we all know that one.
after the typhoon. So, but this is a little bit different, So I don't understand why they're comparing this to, or if they are, I'm not sure if they are, but if they are comparing, Gale versus the government of Guam, you're talking about the aftermath and incorporating a curfew. Doesn't give the governor authority, but if you think about it, it's a constant threat, a constant threat.
Yeah,
So
this
the
isn't the
governor
aftermath.
could it's not an aftermath, and the governor could use her power to incorporate a curfew, but she's not doing it.
Yeah.
I really just think that she's throwing it over to us to be the bad guys here.
Is that
And
what it
I
is?
hope that, I just hope that my other, colleagues open their eyes.
You guys are doing the dirty work for the gov.
Yeah, and see it that no, this is not right. And I'm just hoping these bills never get on the session floor, and if they do, that they're placed back into the, committee. And some of these bills really need to go back to committee and provide the public input. This is democracy where everyone gets a chance to be able to, especially the experts, to come and testify on some of these bills that are very important, especially the unemployment benefit. I mean, you go from assistance to, benefit to assistance. This is a whole new world, unemployment insurance. It's basically unemployment insurance.
Right.
And that needs to have a long, drawn-out, discussion, round table before we go in there, because you're dealing with the private sector here.
Yeah.
And they need to put their input. Other than that, some of the other bills, this fire burning during an emergency, no burning fire. Don't you think that the fire department is smart enough to know that no, we're in high? You don't burn during a high season. Heat season, what is that called?
Grass fire danger rating.
Red flag warning.
So you've got people staying at home doing yard work, doing things like that, and if they have a permit to burn in their little, drum, they can do so. But to put a law out during a case of an emergency to not burn, don't you think that?
Whose bill is that?
That's Kelly Marsh Taitague's bill.
Yeah.
So that things like that do not need to sit on this session.
Munga Masongi Guam.
It's so
The Munga Masongi COVID bill.
I mean, seriously, it's
Is that what she called it? I wouldn't be
it's not
surprised.
funny.
Try to get as many Chamorro words as she can into everything she does. So
It's something else.
It's not the Bunga Masongi
Acton
active.
protehi manzamu
Ah,
nana
okay.
gitiampun saga.
Right,
Sama protehi hitorus. I'll
And
probably
Serena,
say
you,
that.
Okay.
your tumor is a whole lot better than mine.
Oh, Lord. So, Senator,
I tried very hard.
I guess we'll wrap it up here. Anything in closing?
Well, I appreciate everybody that has been following the rules and staying home and keeping it, safe for everybody by staying home. I hope everybody had a happy Easter. And I can't thank you guys enough for what you're doing every day and putting yourself out there. So other than that, God bless and be safe.
Happy
And
Easter.
then Serena, don't forget, wash your hands.
Right.
Senator, wash your
Be
hands,
safe.
too.
And create, and you know what, ever since this happened, I usually, after every interview, I said, create a great day. And I've been forgetting that. So I leave you with everyone, create a great day.
All right. Well, there you go. Minority Leader, Senator Telo Taitague. Let's go from her to our man covering the legislature, Nestor Lecanto. And then after Nestor, I just got the green light from Labor Director David De La Solo, so we'll get him on after